Okay. Hi everybody, Zach the Yak. I want to do a video series on libertarians here on YouTube. If you don't know what a libertarian is, you can go and look it up. And I'm not really going to be too concerned about what libertarians are, because apparently some people think that libertarians are different depending on what country they're from. If they're from Europe, they tend to have certain belief systems. In the United States, a libertarian basically is somebody who, when it comes to economic matters, is very right-wing. When it comes to social matters like marijuana usage or abortion, prostitution, pornography, etc., they're basically left-wing. Now, having said all that, it's fine to have a philosophical predisposition. That's fine. But don't bullshit me. Don't deny reality just because it contradicts your view of things or your particular inclinations. And I think that's what's starting this series off. Recently, I've been seeing one of the things I've been seeing is just this wholesale trashing of a fellow by the name of Paul Krugman, who apparently is the devil to the libertarians on YouTube. Because every time I watch a video with him in it, or, recently I've been watching the New York Times series where they have a conversation with Paul Krugman, it's ridiculous. All the right-wingers here on YouTube go after him. They gather up, start making comments about how people shouldn't listen to this guy, he's a big idiot, he's a fool, or he's evil. In fact, How the World Works made a whole video about how this guy's a fool, an idiot, or evil, that he wants to end America, or that he's never been right. Paul Krugman's never been right about anything, according to How the World Works. Amazing. That's he's in a whole different kettle of fish. What I want to focus on here is the belief that they all share, that these libertarians share, that Paul Krugman actually supported the housing bubble or the real estate bubble. That is to say, the speculative capital, the investment, the loans that were given to people who shouldn't have had loans to begin with, the taking of these bad loans, the bundling up of these loans into commercial paper that could then be sold on Wall Street as investments, rated AAA and then insured by AIG, others, this kind of thing. That's the real estate or the housing bubble. It's called the housing bubble because people like to say housing bubble. They like to sort of make fun of the idea that people deserve to be housed, that living in a place of your own is a human right. People like to make fun of that. So anyway, that's why it's called a housing bubble. It should really be called another in the series of speculative capital bubbles created by this type of economy. And that's my main point in this series. It has to do with the type of economy that we have under Reaganomics, and it has to do with basic reality. I'll elaborate a little bit more about that and how the libertarians are in denial of reality. But back to Krugman. One of the videos I was watching about Paul Krugman got commented on by a fellow by the name of Shiite Stain. What did this guy say? Well, he said this: "Please shut up, Krugman." This is typical stuff. They all want to... they don't want to hear him, and they don't want you to hear what Paul Krugman has to say. Now, just to clarify here, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Paul Krugman, but I think the guy deserves to be heard, and he has some intelligent things to say. Shiite Stain continues, "You supported a housing bubble, as is very clear by your many TV statements and articles. Why is this man given a platform to spew his trash?" So, Shiite Stain, Shiatstain, is basically saying, we shouldn't listen to him, you shouldn't listen to him, because the man is a fool, and the man supported the housing bubble to begin with. When I asked him to provide a citation, his response was thus: Do a search, buddy. It's all over the place. The guy is a moron. Well, I did do a search, and it wasn't all over the place, because the only reference I could find, ironically, the only reference I could find that he supported the housing bubble was from a libertarian blog put out by Reason Magazine, or on YouTube, Reason TV. They're libertarians. So this is not a surprise that it has that the information loop is circular. So I went trying to find the source of this article, and I did. It stems from August, or the source for this article. It stems from a column that Paul Krugman wrote in August of 2002. The column is entitled W's Double Dip, and if you read the article, which I'll link to, you'll see that it's a criticism of the type of economy that we have. Because when you go from one speculative bubble to the other speculative bubble, when you have Wall Street get involved in bad ideas and make bets on things, basically create a casino economy, the only way to stimulate things is to get people to get involved in this type of bubble, or to start borrowing heavily on their credit cards to spend on products that they don't need. That's how you stimulate the economy. So Krugman wrote, this was a pre-war style recession. Here he's referring to the recession around 2002 brought on by the NASDAQ bubble. A morning after brought on by irrational exuberance. To fight this recession, the Fed needs more than a snapback. It needs soaring household spending to offset moribund business investment. And to do that, as Paul McClellan of PIMCO put it, Alan Greenspan needs to create a housing bubble to replace the NASDAQ bubble. End quote. The whole point of this is to show how things are done, how Alan Greenspan does things, how the Fed does things. In point of fact, whenever there's an economic slowdown, the Fed uses monetary policy, that is, they cut interest rates to create more investment in these speculative bubbles. By cutting interest rates, they loosen the supply of money, and that means that these banks now can lend out more to people like you and I, but it also means lending out to other people who may not be able to pay back the loan. When you couple that with deregulation, it's a recipe for disaster. It means people are going to get loans that don't deserve loans. It means that people are going to start borrowing more, even people who on paper looks like they could pay back their loans, they start to borrow more and more to pay for items that they don't actually need. More on that in a later video, I think, in this series. But the main thing is that Krugman was not advocating. Krugman was not advocating. I need to say that again. He was not advocating a housing bubble. He was merely predicting that Alan Greenspan would create another bubble, real estate or housing, to offset the effects of the bubble bursting from the NASDAQ bubble. That's prescience, not stupidity. That's accuracy, not stupidity, not idiocy. Actually, I did find lots of articles where he criticized speculative capital, dating back from 2005, when he predicted that the bubble would burst. This does not seem like an accurate line of criticism, and I don't know why the Libertarians are insisting that Mr. Krugman supported the real estate bubble, other than the fact that Mr. Krugman really bothers them, has hit a few nails on the head, and happens to be right. Not just about the description of how we got into this mess, but possibly the prescription for getting us out. More on that later. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the future.